Hey kids, this is how you doing? Humans are tribal creatures, aren't they? Well, that's a long discussion which I am not going to get into. However, let's talk about this. Uh, you know, we have different leisure activities, and we don't necessarily, like I don't like skiing. I'm not going to put two slippery sticks on my feet and go on a hill. I'll kill myself. But I have friends that love to do that. I have friends that like to fish, and I like to fish. I have friends that like football. I watched the Super Bowl. I drove home before, while the game was changing, and so I didn't realize what was going on until I got home. But we don't necessarily, go to each other and kind of evangelize. Not all, always. Some people do. And I'm not. Don't look at somebody and say, "Hey, well, I like fishing. You like skiing. There's something wrong with you. You don't get leisure." However, we get into something like role-playing games, and we put them all under this big umbrella of role-playing games, right? But a lot of times we have such different approaches and motivations. And it could be things like the whole narrativist, simulationist, gamist, schism, or it could be something like Runesinger was talking about, where you have character first intention, story first intention, setting first intention, and even like player first intention, where you're just there to have fun. Different motivations, and there's 100 other different ways to kind of parse those out. But you end up having people have different motivations for why they play role-playing games, what experience they're looking for. And as we look at each other and we're trying to have these discussions, it's not just about the vocabulary words. It's about that sometimes intellectually we understand what they're talking about, but from a gut level reaction, we're like, they're crazy. They just don't understand role playing. Like, what aren't you getting? And I'm talking about me. I'm talking about my reaction sometimes, and I can see my friends and other people have this reaction too. And I wrote this. I wrote down something clever in a message, so I don't want to forget it because I can't remember what I said, whether it was clever. But it's not just. Sometimes it's not just that we have trouble understanding each other's motivations, or it's as if we instinctively see them as selfish, misguided, and inappropriate. And I've watched sometimes as people have looked at, say, like, I'll look at somebody else and they're say they're all about, like, what's tactically sound really shouldn't be important. What necessarily, what your character's true motivations are shouldn't be important. What should really be important is the story arc. And does this serve the in the story of the game, the arc of the game? Does this serve, is this going to bring something to the table? And they're looking at me sometimes as being a bit selfish if I'm saying, well, this is what my character would do. This is what makes logical sense in the world. At the same time, I'm looking at them thinking, well, wait a minute. You're being kind of selfish, feeding the story arc when, there's people there that are just trying to play their characters, you know. And in the meantime, the guy that's, all about the numbers and all about, strategy and optimization is looking at both of us like we're nuts. We're looking at him as being selfish because he just wants to do the tactically sound thing, and he's looking at us as selfish, like, what are you guys doing? Why don't you go, like, write a novel or go in theater or something? You know what I mean? And we can start to accidentally, but I think humans are like this, place value judgments on each other and see each other as being somehow either not understanding what role playing is about. We're doing it wrong. Our motivations are wrong. We're kind of putting like value judgments, like, not only do you just not get this, but you're being selfish and misguided. And this isn't true, but sometimes this is what happens emotionally to us. At least I've had experience with this. And so when we're trying to have a productive discussion about differences in gaming, like what do we want out of it? Developing some kind of vocabulary. Can we talk to each other? Can we come to some kind of compromise? Are we going to be the right fit for a particular game group or whatever? We can get trapped and caught up in this making some value judgments that we really shouldn't be making about each other. But it's instinctive. It's what humans do. So have you experienced this? How have you gotten out of it? Have you found yourself trapped, or have you found ways out? So tell me about it. Or are we all just bound to play the fool?